Hello everybody, I'm Lorenzo Marchessi and I'm here right at the beginning of this video we're about to watch to remind you to subscribe to my channel. It's very helpful if you do, and also please tell your friends, your family members, and share it if you can. Love to hear your comments and feedback, but just want to make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching and we'll see you soon. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another show of the Geek Authority Show. I'm your host, Lorenzo Marchessi. This is the show where I get to interview all kinds of actors, writers, producers, directors, cosplayers, all kinds of PR people, authors, actual authors from stage and screen, and even novels. And today I have a very special guest. He's done acting, he's done all kinds of things, and we're going to explore the details of his career. And his name is Teja McDaniel. And I want to welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Lorenzo. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So, well, we start with the basics. Are you a native Californian?
No, born in New York City.
Ooh, an actual New Yorker. So, at what age and what brought you out to the West Coast?
I actually moved out to the West Coast in the early 2000s after I got married, and there was an opportunity out here on the coast.
Okay. So, what would you say was the thrust of this? Was it acting that did it, or modeling, or what started the talents of it?
So actually, my wife had a business partner, and originally it was California that they were going to open up their warehouse because they were doing important distribution, and instead they moved it into Vegas. So I came out to the West Coast because of a job opportunity in California, and for the greater part of the first year of our relationship, we were going back and forth between Vegas and California. So I used to joke with people and say that I was the stripper and she was the gambler.
Ooh, okay. So, what were you doing? What kind of jobs?
It was actually a sales role. It was selling Ethernet connection for internet.
Okay. And what brought about, am I correct? You've done the modeling, right? Because I have
I
seen some.
modeling, yeah, that was a bit beforehand. I actually went to Boston University, got a degree in acting, directing, and writing. I had actually switched majors from acting halfway through because I felt that from my creative side, I wanted to do more. And after graduating from Boston University, two things happened. Number one, I was asked if I had ever done any modeling before, and I said no, and got into modeling. And at the same time, someone invited me to watch a acting class, and by the end of it, I was asking questions and then answering questions. And then the owner of the theater company asked me if I'd like to teach there. And I started a beginning and advanced acting program for them at Riverside Theater Works that now has about 1,000 students over the years.
Wow. So you've done acting yourself. You've done theater. You've done.
Yeah. While I was at Boston University, I, of course, did the curriculum. I also had an opportunity to study with Lindsay Krause, David Mamet's wife. I also, along with two other students, convinced Sir Ian McKellen to do a Shakespeare workshop. And at the same time, um, worked with a stunt coordinator by the name of William Finley. So I've probably done about 100 productions, inclusive of about 15 of my own plays that I wrote, directed, and produced from Boston, New York, Los Angeles, and Australia.
Okay. How many did you say? How many?
I've been involved in about 100, but I've written, directed, and produced about 15 of my own plays.
That's amazing. So I'm curious, what was the first play you wrote and put together for production?
So that was actually for Riverside Theater Works, and it was a semi-musical. It was a spoof on a mobster Italian Irish wedding with over-the-top characters like Don Stinkofumi and the Big Cheese. So it was
Okay, so you're a singer as well.
well, not in that one. That one I was writing and directing and producing. That one I didn't act in, but I have acted in off Broadway and um, you know, several different things.
So you're SAG and Equity and AFTRA.
I'm SAG, but not Equity.
Okay, so I'm assuming you've done commercials then.
I have done commercials. Coors Light. What are the commercials? There's about four of them I did, and I'm just trying to remember. I was runner up to the Dr. Pepper guy, but I didn't get that one. But
You mean
most of
David Naughton, the original?
yeah, yeah, I was
Wow.
for that one. Um, but most of them have been either beer or liquor.
Okay.
Some
And that's
international.
right, and that's because you're a tall, strapping man. So, and
Yeah.
you kind of look really good. So I'm sure the camera just loves you.
Well,
Um,
I do have to admit though, I had one serious faux pas. I read in a newspaper that they were interviewing for individuals who look like James Bond, and I definitely look like a junior version. But I showed up in a tuxedo. I got the call back and showed up to the interview, and the woman was for cigarettes, and she said, okay, this is what you want to do, and when you do it, and she did this whole lighting and everything, and look at the camera, say, think this. And what she said was not something that I expected from a lady probably my mother's age, and I couldn't get that out of my head.
uh-oh.
So basically, sat down, lit the cigarette, and took the first drag, and then went to say my line. I did a reverse on my inhaling and totally flubbed it. So that one I did not get, but it
You didn't
was
get to do it again? Didn't
I didn't
re-
do it again. I just totally lost it and went beet red and you know just and couldn't stop hacking. So I'm not really a smoker. So, but that was the end of that one.
Wow. I think isn't the new laws you have to have the fake cigarettes when you making somebody smoke and something like that?
I haven't interviewed for a commercial in a while,
Oh,
so I
okay.
don't know what the laws are.
All right, let's go back to so would you consider yourself more passionately a writer, director, producer, actor? Where are you at right now?
I think definitely on the creative side, I definitely look at things as to, hey, these are some of the stories that I'd love to see. When I and my wife moved to Australia, I asked around and I said, what's happening in the film industry? And unfortunately, they said, there's not really much going on. It's either going down to New Zealand or going up to Sydney. And I said, well, how come? Yeah, because it's about the dollar. The dollar is better in New Zealand. And I said, well, how about shooting your own stuff? Oh, right, you need like 500 million, 500,000 to $1 million to shoot a feature length film. And I said, well, local boy Scott Ryan shot a film called The Magician, $3,000, a mockumentary about an assassin. Oh, it's terrible. And I said, well, it's in the movie theaters. Yeah. And they said, well, they had to put more money into it. And I said, well, that was the licensing company, the distributor. So basically, I figured out that they weren't so excited about doing their own stuff. So I decided to do my own project. And that's when I put together a little independent film called Five, and with four other production teams, shot on 4 continents, 9 countries, 16 cities, with nearly 150 actors on a production budget of zero, just to try to prove a point. So,
So when you say zero production budget, you
well,
not at all?
each producer was responsible for whatever money they wanted to put into their own segment. and all up, it was probably about $10,000.
Wow. Okay. Is this
Yep.
the clip that you sent me?
Yep, still in post-production, just doing some final elements to it, and hopefully it'll be out soon, and available in some manner within the next 6 to 12 months.
And that's the clip we're talking about, right? You sent me?
Mhm.
Okay, let's take a quick look at that. And then we can comment on. All right, here we go. Does it need a little introduction before I hit play?
Basically, my special effects guy just took a smattering of different scenes, not necessarily the best scenes or the best footage, but something that he just wanted to grab and put together to music. It doesn't really tell a story. I wouldn't call it quite a trailer, but it's sort of a montage.
Okay. Wait. I can edit, don't worry. Technology, I gotta love it. Okay, here we go. All right, so you're saying the music here is a temporary like score for it, background. Okay, here we go. Wow. Okay. So that was shot on, would you say five different continents?
Four different continents.
Four different continents.
Yeah.
And
So,
how did you keep the
Asia.
continuity?
Well, one of the things I did was that I had watched The Longest Day, and that movie was actually put together with an assortment of different directors, and that sort of inspired the idea to do this kind of a film. And I told each of the that when we shot it, we would all shoot it with the same camera. That also, in terms of style, that we would try to keep it really simple and basic, and also to really follow the script. So the script key, and because there were also different scenes that would interchange with each other. So I might have the cast in New York doing one part of the scene, the cast in Texas doing another part of the scene, and Australia doing another part of the scene.
Wow. Okay. So I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So you've got the script of this, it's a feature length, right? I'm assuming.
Yep. The original script is 123 minutes. I'd like to get the overall storyline down to closer to 90. So what I did was when I wrote the script that I made it 123 minutes. Some of the scenes that I knew that I was only going to take a couple of quick sound bites from, I wrote an entire scene because for the actors, I felt twofold. Number one, I wanted my actors to really have an opportunity to get their teeth into doing an acting scene. And at the same time, I felt that their reactions would be more realistic if they were doing a full scene. And in this way, they get taped for the reel, and I get what I need. So I'm looking to actually bring the film down to about 90 minutes.
Okay, and the characters in the story are basically interacting with all the other characters in different locations.
Mm-hmm.
So the through line is obviously there's something happening internationally.
Yes.
So I'm just curious, where did you get all the footage of looks like the army, look, is it Middle Eastern? I can't tell.
So from that clip, there's a little bit of stock footage, but there's also in Texas, we got a set called Downtown Baghdad. They had real weaponry, For myself, one of the things that came back was that in any movie that you watch, like for example, if you see Black Hawk Down, the whole city of Mogadishu starts to become the adversaries, and you have the shots of them. In the movie Aliens, the second Alien movie, remember when they're having the detector and it's beeping, and they're saying, "Oh, they're beyond the barricade," and then they all of a sudden look up in the ceiling, and then all the creatures are crawling up along the ceiling. You need to have that to create more friction in a scene. And when I got footage back from some of the other producer stuff, and because of the laws and regulations in Australia,
So was it kind of I'm assuming you're doing the editing as well, right?
well, I worked with 5 different editors. That was also a bit of a challenge too, because there was a tendency of here's what we're dealing with, let's agree on a price. And then it became, oh, this is taking me longer. Oh, this is much bigger than I thought it was, all these different things. My first editor was in New York. They didn't touch it for 4 months. And so I took all the footage back. My next editor, uh, he edited sort of a very, very simple version of not the whole thing. And I kept on going, isn't there more footage? And he just eliminated working on a lot of the footage. So the third editor I went to, he was always having problems and oh, I lost my job, I did this, and it was always like an excuse, and it just became longer and longer, and he would do these massive edits but on one scene, not give me the whole thing. So not to go any further into all the dramas, but it was a learning exercise for me. So I'm happy that I finally got a rough cut from start to finish of 123 minutes, but now I need to go back and edit it down.
Can you give a little tagline to what the movie's about? Little, what's
Mhm.
your pitch?
In 5 days, 5 agents from around the world must stop 5 major terrorists. And the
I'm
movie's,
in. I'm in. Okay. And when do you foresee this to be completed and then release?
I'd like it to be available within the next 6 to 12 months.
Okay. And are you doing the streaming? Obviously, the pandemic's.
Well, that's one of the options to look at. Definitely, I think that with all these different channels that have come up that are now streaming, they're looking for more content. And from what I've seen out there, I think I have a good chance of getting picked up by someone.
Ooh. Okay. Let's jump to the. To,
There's some really great stuff, and then every once in a while you come across stuff that you go like, really? No.
yeah. Did they read the script? Anyway, let's jump to the many photos I have that you were kind enough to send. And I'm assuming that's a headshot, correct?
Well, that was actually for an interview. My alma mater, Brunswick School, wanted to interview me, and they sent a photographer out, and that was one of the pictures from the interview.
Wow. How long ago was that?
5 years ago.
Okay.
I may not look it right now. I had some surgery recently, so my face is a little swollen. Oral surgery. So
Oh.
I had to keep the nose.
what do we got here?
So this is my current work profile picture for my employer, WT North America.
So your day job is what you're saying.
Day job, yes.
Yeah. Okay. This. Oh. I.
So,
I.
so basically, my role is director of human resources and talent acquisition, inclusive of helping with company branding, brand awareness, and culture and people. Part of that is trying to do fun stuff with the people that I'm working with. So this was actually me dressed up as Captain Hook for Halloween just a couple of years
Pretty good. That's a nice outfit.
ago. Yeah, I kind of wanted to go for slightly darker than Disney version.
Oh yeah. Uh, oh, hello.
So this is my older son who was doing, of course, the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, and the costume, apart from the gloves that were actually created by Adam Posel, who I met through Zombie Joe's in a production that I did over there. This costume I put together together. And I also wanted to go for a more Truffaut sort of beast look. And so I created that mask to be a little less Disney-esque, but yet at the same time, not too scary for me.
Right. Very nice. Uh oh.
So that is one of the actors in Australia playing an insurgent, and he's carrying a M24 saw machine gun, and that is all put together, inclusive of the bullets, out of foam core and plumbing tubing.
No way. Really?
Yeah, amazing what you could do with an X-Acto knife. So here's some of the other, and myself included in the middle there. I did research on various different weaponry. So what I'm carrying there is a hybrid HK M17 with a grenade launcher.
But you made it, you said, right?
Everything from scope to extra clip, all those scopes, everything that you see in the image there is all from me. Now, this is Texas, and this is an actress, Allison Bacon, and she's actually carrying a real weapon because that was shot in Texas.
Wow. Uh-oh.
So one of the things was trying to create a sense of urgency and having more images of insurgents. So here are twin Browning 30 caliber machine guns on top of what they call in Australia a ute. And so when the camera is moving and the actors are moving and you have After Effects, you don't pick up on the details that, oh, maybe it does look a little bit like foam when you get close up to it. So, again, this is from Texas, and that's from the set of Downtown Baghdad called.
And you're saying they have this kind of is this a studio or is this a location? What is it?
This is a studio lot.
Uh-oh. Hello.
Yep. This was me having a little bit of fun back when I was in Australia working with company Recruitment Works, and then I opened up my own recruitment agency called Fairbanks Consulting, and just having a bit of fun there as a profile picture. That goes back to high school. I played 3 years of varsity football and set a record for. Go ahead. You were going to ask.
How tall were you in high school?
6'2.5", about the same as right now.
Okay, I was. Wow, very cool.
Yeah, so played 3 years of varsity football and set a record for most sacks in a game, longest fumble recovery, and won 2 back-to-back championships. In fact, had a
Okay, okay, ladies, calm down, calm down. He's married. Okay, he's off the market. Calm down. That's him.
So when I started modeling, which I think you have another picture of, a little bit more slender, but then at a certain point, I started moving out of modeling just because I had more interest. So again, just different shots from 5 with the weapons that were created for the film.
Okay, where was your sequence shot? Where was that area?
My part was Australia.
That was Australia.
Yeah.
There we go.
So this is one of the last headshots that I had, and what was the name of the photographer? Really, really good photographer. I've had a couple of good ones. New York, I had Hoberman. There were a couple, and they were phenomenal in New York City. And this one was, I think, best headshots. This was one of the first pictures I ever took. My dad actually took this one, and I was fresh out of college, and we decided to take some pictures, and he took that one as well.
Okay.
So
I often sit in the middle of a lake in a chair with my clothes on. How about you?
That's Long Island Sound between Connecticut and New York. So, but
wow.
But that's when I was about 185 pounds. Before changing my workout.
Wow, look at perfect hair, perfect nose, perfect everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Ladies,
So
calm down, calm down.
this is a little bit longer. This was actually a photo shoot I did with Daniel Perry in New York City. He's pretty well-known photographer, and at that point, my bench press went from struggling at about 245 to being able to super slow bench press 400 pounds and leg press about 1200. I was actually thinking about doing a walk on with the New York Jets or Giants at that time.
Really?
Linebacker, yeah.
Am I right here? You're going for a Tarzan kind of feel here?
It was kind of Native American, but it's interesting that you mentioned Tarzan because when I talked about like starting to do superhero stuff, I actually got called in for Disney and Mattel to do Hercules for their toy fair, promoting their toy fair line, and then that opened up the door to uh, being Tarzan for American Movie Classics when they bought a whole bunch of Johnny Weissmuller stuff. So I did the Tarzan yell. I was picking up people and talking in that
Okay.
sort of monochromatic way. This is another photograph that my dad did. This is sort of my Antonio Banderas Desperado look.
So you're how old here? You're
I'm old.
no, how old are you here in this picture?
That's probably right around age 30.
Okay. You look so young. I mean, that does not look 30 to me. So,
Yeah, good genetics. Good genetics. So this
uh-oh.
so this was back in the 20s when I was modeling in Boston. I did a ton of runway in Boston and New York, including a Calvin Klein underwear show in October, which was very cold.
Wow. I like this one.
My first headshot ever.
Ah,
So
all right. Tell all here. What's going on? You're obviously not
so
in the middle. So,
no, I'm not the one in the middle. I'm the one not with the mouth open either. I'm the taller one. So uh, my high school did a production of Sugar, which was the musical version of Some Like It Hot.
I'm like it hot. Yeah.
Evers on the right hand side there. We were both on the same football team. He was a senior, I was a junior, and I auditioned for the play. I wanted to get Tony Curtis's role, and I auditioned twice for it. The first time I went, I just went as is, principal, jacket and tie. Did my audition, was definitely not happy with it, and had written up a false name for later on in the audition. In fact, I made sure that I was the last person to go. And growing up, my sister and I had the wonderful treasure box of costumes that my mom had put together. So I pulled out a wig, I pulled out a dress. So here I was with my triceps and biceps sticking out of one of my mom's old dresses and a wig and high top sneakers and did the whole audition in falsetto and wound up getting the role of Jack Lemmon, which I was like, I want to get Tony Curtis. And Jack Lemmon's role was so much fun. And
Yeah.
it was, we also had an opportunity to do these plays. I went to an all boys school that was right across the street from all girls school. So one of the interactive things that one could do is be in the plays. And all the girls were really jealous, not just because of how my legs looked in high heels, but that I could do also a tour de jay in high heels.
Wow. I think this is your work, right?
Yes. So one of the things that I've done is I have both with clients, employers, as well as universities and veteran centers have gone around and done LinkedIn labs. So really helping individuals to understand the power of LinkedIn, being able to take control of their own branding, their own online presence, and understand that out of 3 billion people in the world, that there's 775 million knowledge workers, out of which LinkedIn's connected already to over 700 million of them, which is somewhere around 90%. And that it's a good tool to know how to use and take advantage of. So I basically evangelize for everyone how to use that platform. So here I am at another one. I talk about recruiters, how to work with recruiters. I often refer to myself as being not your typical HR or your typical recruiter. I actually like people. I enjoy helping people. And I also operate from a place that is very foreign for a lot of individuals in my space, which is about integrity, transparency, and
Wow. I could tell you stories. Anyway, um, there he is again. All right. I think these are the final group here.
so when I was working with Hewlett Packard, uh, they one of the great things was that when I first started with Hewlett Packard, Michelle Bennett was a manager of mine, and when I got hired, she said, "Well, make sure that um, accept the invite for the group hug meeting every week." I'm going, group hug meeting? Like, what do we do? Like, grab a guitarist and kumbaya? What's it all about? But it was a great meeting because all of us were remote, and this is long before COVID, and we it was great to have a sense of community. And we would, of course, talk about work things, but we'd also talk about kids, dogs, what was going on in our lives. So we gave a presentation on what our lives were about. And I had mentioned that I had a history of also having been a superhero for various different companies, Marvel, Disney, Mattel, uh, and they found out and they asked me, how'd you like to be a superhero for Hewlett Packard? And I said, sure. So this was actually the creation of the open source hero. Uh, Otherwise, I would refer to him as Blueberry Man. And this was the first sketching I did for the costume. And I did it in Portland. And that was one of the things that we were doing, taking pictures with superheroes and everyone being a superhero. And that was the initial costume. And then they asked me to go to Japan because it had gone so well. And I got to work more on the costume and made it a little bit more animated looking. So that's
Okay.
where I created the helmet and the gloves and everything else. I think
All
I
right.
have another image.
Yeah, I think this is it. The last one. Ta-da!
There it is.
So what's the belt? Is
So
that a
that was my superhero in Japan, in Tokyo.
right? But is that an S? Is that supposed to be an S?
That's probably cardboard. I kind of did. It's open source, so it's like the O and the S in the middle for open source, and also
Okay.
on the helmet itself, sort of the OS, but in a stylized way.
Right. Now I see it. Now that you said it. So okay, cool. So those are the images of your various adventures. So I'm kind of curious about how you. Well, first of all, how did you get to Australia? You were in New York, and then you mentioned Boston, then you mentioned Vegas,
So, so,
California.
so I was born in New York City, and then when I was about 7, moved from Greenwich Village to Greenwich, Connecticut, which was kind of bohemian child thrust into Country Clubville. Went to Boston University, switched my major from acting to acting, directing, and writing. Then uh, went and became a writer, director, producer, and created the um, curriculum for Riverside Theater Works that now has nearly about 1,000 students enrolled. Then became the director of dramatics at FIT in New York City. Started doing recruitment because a girlfriend asked me to do PR work. That agency wanted to find people because they wanted to impress uh, some potential clients, and I was able to fill a space that they had rented with actual professionals. And then I became the go-to person to find people. And then in the meantime, I was writing, directing, producing, and acting. I did soap opera work, most of the soap operas in New York City, and also worked on some films that were in town, some uh, major films, but mostly principal lead in some short films, and started working on 5 and had another child. And why did I go out to Australia? I'd like to say that I kept on driving west and took a wrong turn and found myself in Australia. But when people say, "Why did you leave Australia?" I say, "Well, I got sick and tired of watching Super Bowl Sunday on a Monday morning." So, but opportunity really presented itself, sold my business, took the equity, the capital invested into real estate back over here and went to the States.
So you mentioned Zombie Joe's. Have you done a lot of local theater here in Los Angeles, California?
I've done some local theater. I've done, I think, total of 3 productions over at Zombie Joe's. One of them I actually wrote and directed, and met some great actors. In fact, Patrick Beckstead and Issa Espy, and uh, just an assortment of great talent. In fact, Steve Alloway, who did a fantastic play that I was in called The Shadows of Paul. Loved being in that show as well. So,
Wow. Yes, I've seen many of the productions over at Zombie Joe's, as well as there's a couple theaters that sprung out of Zombie Joe's. It's kind of cool. Um, so let's do this in terms of somebody watching this for now, and they're listening to you. Obviously, traveling is, you're, I don't know how to say it. I mean, you love to travel. You've traveled a lot. You've kept up with the entertainment business no matter where you were. So what advice would you give to somebody who's a young actor on the, teetering on, do I want to do this? Because assuming the pandemic is over and we've all got our vaccines and all that stuff. So what advice?
I think one always wants to work on one's craft. I think also that you always want to be the creative part of oneself. And I think that instead of looking at this as a hurdle, and I'm a firm believer that hurdles actually help us jump further than we expect to jump, use this as a time to start creating content. If you're going to be an actor out there, how can you make yourself as good as possible in any medium, whether it's going to be theater, commercial work, television work, film work, and even with television work, there are different styles. If you go from one channel and you're watching, what is it, the W? See, what's the channel?
CW?
W. Okay, make sure I got it right. If you go to the CW, that's going to be a different style of acting than if you're on a crime drama. And so pick up on what are those different styles and make sure that you're capable of doing those. Because one of the things that I've found, and this is not just from my own experience, but also talking to other individuals, is that you can go to a conservatory program and they'll teach you different ways to act, but they won't necessarily teach you the business side. And that was one of the things that I wanted to start up in Australia, was almost create like a studio house where one developed actors and created content at the same time, so that it really served the actors. Because most of the acting classes that I see out there is, two individuals. Go ahead.
Like, by creating content, are you saying like do scenes of yourself?
do do scenes, do monologues. If you're capable of dancing, try to do something dancing. If you're a singer, sing. One of the things Jamie Foxx said in regard to getting the role Ray was that, hey, he had these capabilities. It was just a matter of the opportunity presenting itself, because he could play piano and he could sing. And I think that if you work on your craft in that way, then there's a belief that unless someone really sees what you can do, they're going to be at a state of disbelief. So you need to show them that you can do it.
Right.
We're constantly being judged and analyzed by individuals who are often limited by their own experience and their own creative side, their own imagination. So if you can,
And being diverse is more marketable for an actor?
I think so. I think so, because you look at, why are A-list actors even doing commercials? You know, yeah, big money. Okay, but it's also pushed out a lot of voiceover actors who had been doing voiceover for a long time. And now, if you have a recognizable voice, oh, it's Brad Pitt now doing this voice. It's George Clooney doing this voice.
Matthew McConaughey.
Okay. So, so if you can diversify, that means also you've got a greater opportunity to keep your craft going.
And I've got to admit, Broadway and television and movies and now streaming, which has like opened up a gazillion doors, things like Hamilton. You know, you've got diverse casting, you've got diverse music, you've got diverse dancing, all on the same project. Did you see Hamilton?
I did see Hamilton, and I think it's a great thing that there's diversity. I think that there needs to be more diversity because I feel, and I'll use this as an example, if someone is an Asian actor, why can't an Asian actor be Romeo? Why can't an Asian actor be the next James Bond? And the thing is that because I find that most Asian actors, the first question that they probably run into is, what martial arts do you know?
Yeah, that's kind of a little racist, though, isn't it?
It's racist of the casting, people. But that's where we need to change our minds and look at it and say, I love what Carl would go ahead.
How do you feel about this? I saw a production on the west side of LA of an entire female cast of Hamlet. That blew me away.
I look, I think pushing the envelope with anything is fantastic. I would have loved to have seen that. I saw a director by the name of, I want to say Kawasaki, or it was exactly one of those names of a motorcycle company, but that was the name of the director. And he was there with an entire cast up in Boston, and that was great.
Wow.
I want to see more acting, more casting decisions based on the talent of an individual, as opposed to what's the preconceived notion of what it should be.
Right.
So,
The other thing too is I noticed the writing is more, how do I say this, open ended, where that some of the scripts are, you can cast whatever role you want, whatever race, whatever. I don't know about gender. Sometimes when you're writing something, specifically the character needs to be a woman or needs to be a man.
you know, Romeo and Romeo.
I've heard of something like that, but I've never seen a production of that. So
Why not? I mean, the thing is that, or I think in this day and age, I think it's great that as human beings, we accept people more on the capability of their heart versus anything.
right. How do you feel? What advice do you give people who want to direct?
I think learn about acting, learn about writing. I think that goes for any field. If you want to be an actor, learn about producing, learn about acting, learn about directing. Understand what is the other elements that go into putting a production together, whether it's theater or behind the camera. I think it's important to know all those elements, and also at the same time, I think exposing oneself to what other directors have done and try to find your own style.
But what do you mean by your own style? How?
Well, so if I watch uh, Bertolucci film, with a cinematographer, they both work together on so many films. It has a distinctive style to it. I love watching French films. If you look at a Luc Besson film, Nikita, La Femme Nikita, and then you look at the American version with Fonda in it. I think it was. I'm trying to remember. It also had Harvey Keitel in it. Two different styles, but I think that the way La Femme Nikita was shot by Hassan was so much more captivating, as a piece. And I think for a director, if you're directing film, see how you can put scenes together that help captivate the audience.
Right. And
If you were a director on, go ahead.
no, no, yeah, and like when you said Luc Besson, right?
Yep, Luc
And
Besson.
it's funny because he's mentioned that La Femme Nikita, but have you obviously you must have seen The Fifth Element, right?
I saw The Fifth Element. I enjoyed The Fifth Element. I thought it was a fun film. I loved the costuming by the fashion designer Gautier, and I I thought it was fun. I thought, hey, we had a black president in that one.
No, I love that film. I mean, he's done so much. That's interesting. Do you have a favorite musical?
Do I have a favorite musical? I actually loved Hamilton. My older son loves musical theater. We went and saw Hadestown, really enjoyed it on Broadway. He also saw Beetlejuice, and we also saw Waitress. Um,
How was
I,
Beetlejuice?
I didn't see it. He saw it, and my younger son, and they both really enjoyed it.
Okay.
I love um, West Side Story. Is a great one. Guys and Dolls. Um, you know, I you know I think that whether it's Sondheim or Andrew Lloyd Webber, they're all entertaining to watch.
Very cool. Do you have a favorite like comedy play that you've seen?
I have to go back to Sugar, that musical version of Some Like It Hot. I love the movie Some Like It Hot. To do a musical version was really fun, and even though
Have you seen some Neil Simon productions?
I've seen Neil Simon, I've seen um,
My favorite of his is The Goodbye Girl.
oh,
On
yeah. But
oh,
I think also for actors, one thing that would also be really good is to watch as much as one can of the actors that have preceded us. Watch some of the work of Montgomery Clift and Katharine Hepburn and Marlon Brando and Cary Grant and Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton and
Charlie Chaplin.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Christopher Plummer just passed away, and he's an amazing career.
yeah. Yeah, it's been a year of losing Sean Connery, Christopher Plummer, and Rankin. I saw her on Broadway in a play called Danson. I admittedly had a crush on her, and years later met her at a movie theater when she was going in to see it. And I said to her, I said, I just have to tell you, you were one of my first crushes, and she really appreciated that. It was sad to see that she had passed away. A lot of Ian Holmes has passed away. So a lot of wonderful, wonderful artists that I think as an actor, watch watch a lot of the British actors. Watch
You
the
know, it's
actors.
funny when you said that. My first thought was I got to see a what is it called when you watch a live theater production? You go to the movie theater. What was that called? Whatever. You go to Fathom Events where they show you on the big screen in a movie theater a stage production of something, and I got to see oh my god, what's it called? Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen working together on stage. And let me tell you, you talk about two professional tennis players.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Amazing. So, and both of them have their own careers, you know, their historical careers. So, um,
Was Waiting for Godot.
that's it. Waiting for Godot.
Right. Because I'd seen Ian McKellen in a separate Broadway production. I went also to see Patrick Stewart do his one man A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, Christmas Carol.
Brilliant.
I saw it at Pasadena, the Pasadena Playhouse.
Okay. Yeah. That was brilliant. I
And let's tell the audience if they don't know what it is Patrick Stewart does Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, but he plays every character in character. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. And that's one of the things too that I really admire is an actor who can play all those different roles, make the characters distinct. Um, I, over the course of the last 2 years, have like read over 50 books, and I got really into dark grim is the genre. And there's an author by the name of Joe Abercrombie, and the first trilogy is called The First Law. And the audiobooks are actually narrated by an actor by the name of Stephen Pacey. And he does a phenomenal job. I mean, even the female characters are naturalized and they sound fantastic. So, if anyone's looking for some good entertainment, I highly recommend connecting to Joe Abercrombie's books.
Yeah, and I also recommend anybody, if you, I'm all for traditional reading, the books and the pages and everything, but everybody's so busy running here and there. Some of the greatest stories have been turned to audiobooks with incredible actors and readers and so on that are doing the performances. If you've never heard the audiobook of Lord of the Rings, that's another one, another brilliant performance of elves and dwarves and
Yeah.
all this, and
Well,
it's
I remember Derek Jacobi.
Jacoby.
Uh, he did I Claudius in the miniseries, 13 episodes, I Claudius, about the fourth emperor of Rome. Fantastic, with Sian Phillips and Patrick Stewart in that cast as well. And later saw him on Broadway portraying the individual who created the first computer during World War II that later Cumberbatch did the movie about. I forgot what the name of it
Yeah,
is.
that
But
was a good movie too.
yeah, great movie, and sad too, tremendously sad movie. And he also did a great reading of the Iliad, Homer's Iliad. So
Yeah, and Benedict is not a bad Sherlock Holmes of all the Sherlock Holmes I've seen.
no, he's not a bad Sherlock Holmes. He doesn't do a bad job in most of the stuff that I've seen.
He's a pretty good guy. He's even done Star Trek. Hello.
Well, I'm still waiting to see him. I think he plays a Richard III, and it was interesting because I love doing research. I have a great passion not only for traveling but also traveling to places that have deep histories, Greece, Italy, Israel, all across Europe. Excuse me. So I do a tremendous amount of research, and I also love things like when they found Richard III's body in a parking lot, and that they've actually figured out that the whole thing about his hunchback was actually he had scoliosis, and that his armor kept him together so he could be actually a battlefield king, and that they've buried him since, gave him a royal burial, and Cumberbatch was there at the ceremony and spoke as well. I think he actually recited something from Richard III, and that was great. But that's you know for me, I've got an eclectic taste, and I love all kinds of different things.
Very cool. So, do you have? By the way, did you notice
Yeah,
your
I've been staring at myself.
Did you have any like closing words for our audience as far as other piece of advice or favorites or anything you want to share?
Yeah, I think kindness will always open up doors, and I think that for everyone, I really feel that our future rests on, and my hope is that humanity can share its greater compassion and greater capacity to be kind and to be accepting and to be loving, because that's a far better world than to wrap it in hate and animosity and ignorance and any kind of jealousies. I find that jealousy can be the most fantastic flattery out there, but there's just too much.
Wow, wow! I got a lump in my throat here. Okay, Taya, that was really good. That's and considering this last, well, at least here in America, last 4 years have been trying to say the least, in terms of that, brotherhood and caring about each other and all that stuff. those are the words we kind of need to hear. And they're going to get better. Yay. Okay, so did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm
I can't tell if you froze or not. You're so...
God, I didn't want to interrupt. I was giving you the stage, Lorenzo.
Okay. Anyway, Teja, I got to say thank you so much for doing this. It's one of those things where it's insightful and educational, and it's kind of exciting. All the things you've done, all the places you've been. Your family, your kids into musical theater, and your wife. Is your wife an actress currently, or?
No, she's the analytical side of the family. We balance out each other quite well.
Oh, now did she tell you to say that? No, just kidding. Anyway, once again, thank you for doing this show. And for those of you who haven't yet, please, 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 one really important thing for me is that you subscribe somewhere around here, somewhere there's a button that you push. You subscribe. Don't forget to click the little bell. What happens with that is it sends you an email when I drop a new video, and then you can go back and watch it whenever you have the time, of course. Let me tell you some of my other shows that I'm doing real quick. The newest show I have, and the one I'm really excited about, is called Making Entertainment. The Geek Authority's Making Entertainment, where I go behind the scenes of productions, where I talk to cast and crew and directors and lighting people and first assistant directors and things of film, TV, theater, or Zoom projects. And we talk about the project that's being produced and not yet released. So it gives you a little insight how the industry works in various ways. I have my Talk About show, where I basically talk about with family and friends various shows that we like. We did Cobra Kai, the new series. We did an old series, Space 1999, and I did a 3-part series on Disneyland and California Adventure closing. It was only supposed to be one show, but it was so sentimental. People were sharing. It got kind of touching. So check that out. It's a really good show. I have my Unboxing Geek Authority, where when I get new stuff or manufacturers send me stuff, I open it up. For the first time you see it, I see it. I have reviews, opinions, and commentary, where I talk about different subjects from my perspective. And then finally, I have the Geek Authority's Mysterious Chamber of Collectibles, where I basically go under my bed and in my closet and pull out things that I've been collecting for years, and we won't talk about how many years. Anyway, thank you so much, Teja. It was incredible. It was exciting, and hopefully we'll keep in touch. And your new movie, when it comes out, maybe we can get the cast and crew, maybe do a Zoom kind of thing and talk to people all over the world. That would be cool. No,
and
maybe.
Thank you so much, Lorenzo, for having me.
Absolutely. So again, thank you for watching, and of course we'll see you next time. Let's say goodbye to everybody, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.